There it is.
Yes. Hello. Okay, we're live. Hi, hello, hi everybody. Hey, hey, as they say in Sweden, because the book is Swedish. Welcome to, yes, that's true too. Welcome to Curious Endeavourances Book Club, where we read anything and everything. If you haven't watched before or you just forgot what we do, we pick a book every month, take turns picking books. We read the books, and we have a Goodreads page that we sometimes comment on and keep track of the books. And then at the end of the month, we get together and discuss the book. So just quick introductions before we get into the book. Who's keeping track? Drinking game. It's late.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know. I haven't talked to people in a long time, okay? I have my cat.
So we need to do that Munchkin game soon.
Yeah. Okay, so introductions. There's Ashley Newell.
Hi, I'm the loud one.
Okay. Julianne Wilson.
Hi, I suppose in keeping with that, I'm the quiet one.
And Caitlin's the host.
I'm Caitlin Perry. I am the moderator.
Yes.
See what I did there? So this month's pick was Julianne's. It was The Little Old Lady Who Broke All the Rules by Catharina Ingelman-Sundberg, which they have there. Yay! It is a Swedish book that was really, really popular and sold a whole bunch, and so they've translated it into English, and then we read it, because I don't think we can read Swedish, us personally.
Not you have the best advantage over all of us.
Yeah, I don't know. Nope. No. So, who wants to read the back to us?
I got it. I'm just a, limelight stealer, so I always read it.
You're better at it than I am, so go for it.
79-year-old Martha Anderson dreams of escaping the dull, drab life of the retirement home. With no intention of spending the rest of her days confined to an armchair, she enlists her 4 best friends, aka the League of Pensioners, to rebel against the rules imposed upon them. Together, they cause an uproar with their antics, protesting against early bedtimes, tasteless meals, and a host of unfair, cost-cutting measures. As the elderly friends become more daring, their activities escalate, and they devise a cunning plan to steal priceless paintings in order to fund their exciting new lives. Determined to stand up for senior citizens everywhere and not to be slowed down by their walkers, they outrun both the law and the lawless on their way to wealth and infamy.
All right. So, yeah. Do people, I guess, want to say what they thought in general?
Should I go first since it was my pick?
Sure. Take it away.
Should I go last because it was my pick? I can go first because it was my pick. I finished this really not that long ago, so I should remember all of the minute detail, but I probably will forget things. I actually enjoyed it. I gave it, I think it was 3 stars on Goodreads. I am curious, obviously, as Caitlin mentioned, cannot read the Swedish. I'm curious if I could read it in its native language, if I would like it a little bit more, because I did have some issues with the way it was written. But I don't feel like that's something I can entirely comment on because it was a translation. So I'm not sure. But overall, I loved the little old lady who, well, basically the little lady who broke all the rules. I loved that. I wish there had been a little bit more justification in the beginning because we jump in and then automatically you get Martha saying, oh, I want to, go to prison. And you're like, but where did that really come from? But I loved her character. She was hilarious, and I got a kick out of it. So, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I definitely agree with the wondering if it being in translation might have something to do with the pacing and the word choices on the description. Or it might also just be a cultural convention. There are some things that are just more what you expect depending on where your region is. And again, because I think this is the first Swedish book I have ever read, and I read it not in Swedish. There's not a whole lot for me to be like, yes, this is exactly the way it's done there. This could just be how this author works, and that's fine too. But it's just that questioning of, am I looking for something that is actually there, or is it not actually there? I love the premise that it's about a bunch of little old people getting up to no good, because that's not an area that's often covered. We don't often look at old people as like the front and center, unless they're like misery Ebenezer Scrooge types, right? But, it was kind of neat, and I don't have a lot of stickies in mind, but there were a few little quips. What was the other dude? Rake. He can be very bawdy at the beginning, and there were definitely a few things I really appreciated.
Rake had the best nickname. It was so appropriate.
Anybody else just appreciate the name in general? Because it's so accurate in both ways.
He's the gardener who's a rake.
Yeah. So there's a lot of really clever things in there, and again, because I think it's extra wonderful because they are old people. If it was like just a bunch of 30 to 40-year-olds, you'd be like, yeah, that's just people. Because they're old people, you're like, they're not like little grannies and grandpas. I mean, they are, but they're still so much more, and that's just heartwarming. So I love that, and I thank Caitlin for giving us kind of the precursor before we got into it, just that reminder about the difference in prison systems, just because it does make a big difference. Like you said, they don't necessarily go to a lot of description until a bit later on, when they're watching the documentary and talking about all the things that they have, and especially when you get to look at what the Diamond House is actually like, and you're like, oh my goodness, these people are complete crooks, right? And it's totally unethical treatment, right? They're withholding food and drugging them so that they don't have to feed them as much, right?
That is horrible.
Like, it's horrifying, but I mean, it's not that fictitious either. I mean, you hear about elder abuse all the time in those situations. So even regardless of what a prison system might be like in Sweden versus somewhere locally, it is a reality, often one that I think just because we're not in that situation, we don't often spend much time thinking about. But looking at that difference in treatment of what they get versus what someone who's committed a crime might have instead. I mean, I make those comparisons sometimes, and you hear about it a lot, with the difference between how we treat children in public education versus people who have been committing crimes. But looking at a more vulnerable group, right? They're living off of their pensions, and especially our League of Pensioners here. We do see some of their family members, but they don't have a lot of actively attentive family. Right? They're all off doing their own thing. Whose is it at the end with their kids?
Christina's kids.
It's Christina. It is Christina's kids?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, Grandma's like coming into money now, so we should try to be nice to her now that she's like a world-famous criminal that's going to be like raking in the millions.
I know, I was just like, if I found out my parents had turned into criminals,
but like the best criminals ever. That was the other thing, right? When they like stole the painting, and that's the thing. They went through this as though it was like super easy, and they knew all this stuff. And I'm like, why hasn't this been done before? And then of course there's other things like at the hotel when they're like cutting the lines and putting, what is it, like the hemp seed through, and I do feel like there were some plot holes in description as to what actually happened. They're like, and then Brains did something. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It's actually got, and the van too, and all these things. I'm like, okay.
What that seemed like is, I sometimes write like that and then do my research later. It's like, I don't actually know how electronics work, so I'm just going to kind of
And
then he broke the
really-
code and got into the system.
And authors that do like the best like criminal mystery stuff, they get in trouble if they're too accurate. Like, this is how you
Exactly,
break
yeah.
into the Pentagon, and the government's like, whoa, you can't start. That's true. So take that out. Not saying that we were leading to that kind of scale, but I mean, it is one of those fine lines that you take as an author. I mean, just even trying to do some internet research. I mean, if you start typing in like, how do I break into, right? Someone's going to red flag you at some point. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's a hit and miss. There's the, okay, you did logically think about enough of it, and yes, let's just assume someone who's very tech savvy could figure it out. So let's just leave it at that. So it was fine. It was just kind of interesting to see this, and especially when we pulled in the actual criminals who had been like trying to do heists and all sorts of things, and they're comparing notes between this is what like the big baddies do, and this is what these little old people do who have like had no criminal history whatsoever. They were like, they're church choir singers.
The big dads were just like so. I don't know.
Well, and they're always like, so how are we going to do this without a whole bunch of guns? And they're like, well, you know,
Yeah.
you draw more attention to yourself if you have guns.
If you start
And you're just
shooting
going around in
everybody.
their walkers and walking out with prized paintings. It's like,
Well,
old people.
but, you know, I think that was maybe that's some hidden message in the book too. Is like we don't, you know, with the neglect at the care home and the fact that people wouldn't believe they'd done it.
Even
when
after they were
admitting-
confessing, yeah, they're
and
like,
told
so
them
you're
how.
the ones that, yeah, and they're like,
Like, this is how we did it. She's
oh,
like-
crazy person.
Like, you have it on camera. The guy's even like, it kind of looks like she purposely lied down and hit the thing. And they're like,
But
yeah,
she's old, and that's not possible.
Yeah, it's the taking the you know, for granted. I don't.
Which, I mean, you see their struggles too, from their perspective, right? On one hand, it's to their advantage because they can just walk in and steal prized paintings.
It's so
But on the other hand,
frustrating.
yeah, well, that's the thing. Like they're like begging for prison time, but they're like, oh, but it's your first offense, and you're just old. And they're like, no, we knew exactly what we were doing. No, you probably didn't understand. You had a mental lapse in your judgment.
Even
Like,
at the end, a whole group of us, really. And even at the end, when they're like, oh, we shouldn't have been able to book those tickets, but I guess because we're old, they didn't bother putting anything on our permanent records, saying that we were criminal
or
masterminds.
checking their luggage. That was the other thing. They just like started up a conversation, and they're like, "Oh, go ahead, old people." Like,
Yeah.
I've got millions of dollars.
Christina's trying to sneak in thumbtacks and a nail file through airport security. It's like, oh, thank you. What did you get me? Licorice. Sorry. So, Kevin was
So
at
that's
this dinner.
Your dinner?
No. So, oh my God. So Martha had her fruit pastilles all the time. So they're sugar free. So these I got them. Maybe I'll send you guys a pack when I get back. So I had Kevin get me some very popular pastilles. Like they're one of the things that when we first came over, one of his friends who'd been here was like, "You have to bring some back for me." And there you go. There's two. So these ones are the black licorice sea salt. They're just like little chewy things. But I wanted them to show. Because they're, you know how like when you go through the grocery store in Canada and it's just like a ton of like gum?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like these in dozens of flavors. There's just like rows of them.
Huh.
Not very much gum.
Which is probably okay. I'm not big into gum.
Me either. It's all sugar-free these days. Blah.
So are these.
But are they sugar-free, like just sugar-free, so not sweet, or are they sugar-free and sweetened with chemicals?
Aspartame.
I don't know, you try to read the ingredients first. My language choices are Swedish, Danish, Norwegian, or Finnish.
Quick, translate. What is the Swedish for aspartame? And just watch. It's aspartame.
Salt, vegetable oil, I'm skipping over about a dozen ingredients as I read, by the way. Ooh, licorice extract. Licorice extract.
Ooh.
I'm so... Okay, I can read some Swedish. I lied.
Next, giving her review on the original translation of the Little Lady of the Book, All the
I
Rules.
considered going to the bookstore and buying it. But I have Harry Potter in Swedish, and it takes me like 3 hours to get through one page, so...
You could
Anyway.
tell us what, like, 5 words on each page meant and give you a review based on that.
Martha, Christina, Street, Cloudberry liqueur. I have a
I wanted to ask, is that something that's popular over there? Cloudberry liqueur?
I haven't tried it. I've heard of it. I found Cloudberry jam. It's super expensive because I guess they're like a specialty Cloudberries. Yeah, so it is a thing. It is a specialty thing, I guess. Anyway, I'm sorry. I interrupted with my pastilles.
That's okay. It's essential knowledge for our cultural understanding of this book.
Them all the time.
She does. She has like an infinite supply in her pockets.
I know. It's like the Cloudberry liqueur is just like the never-ending bottle, and then just like mounds of pastilles in her pocket. It's like Werther's, like butterscotch.
The little people in Werther's, yes.
Which is totally true with my grandparents, at least. So.
Well, because they can't have the chewy stuff, right? Their teeth are either false or very sensitive.
Yeah. The chewy.
And then we go to the chicken dance. Yeah.
Silly, we apologize. I mean, the book was kind of silly, but like silly in a good way. It was a good silly. It was because it was like you're like, oh, it's a crime novel. Oh no, okay, kind of. But like even in the prologue, which was probably one of my favorite parts, Martha's trying to rob the bank, and they're like, "Oh, well, they'll have to see." She's like, "Give me 40 million pounds or whatever it was," and like, we're gonna have to look into it. I don't know if you have enough for your pension to have come through yet. It's like, no, I'm robbing.
But she didn't even have that. She was just standing there. She's like, I'm robbing this bank, dude.
Yeah. Doesn't have a mask with a scarf. Has a scarf so the camera will flare.
If there's a flash, because you know that's how security cameras work now.
I know, right?
But that was just Dream Martha, in all fairness. But it was still very sweet.
Yeah, it was hilarious. It like immediately gives you an idea, like, okay, this is what's going to happen.
It was to some degree accurate because once they did commit the crime, nobody believed them. Although that reminds me, the what was it, the constable? Yikes.
What was his name? I don't remember anyone's. Lundberg.
I could be pronouncing it wrong.
Probably.
I read this so long ago, I'm not even going to jump in there. I can't even try.
I suppose it's book club, so it goes without saying spoiler alerts.
Yeah, you were supposed to read this book.
If you haven't, stop watching and come back later.
Yes. But the epilogue, where he's like outraged that they sent him this mocking letter telling him to put the money in the drain pipe. And it's like, it's actually there.
Like, isn't it me?
Inspector Strombeck.
Strombeck.
Okay.
Just because you said epilogue, so I was able to flip right to that page. I don't actually remember anything.
I thought there was Strombeck and Lundberg.
That sounds right.
Or the two.
Well, Strombeck is the one that gets the lid.
I couldn't tell them apart when they were together. I was just like, I don't know.
I found that quite frequently with a lot of the characters. Like, the only ones that were really distinct were Martha and Brains. Everyone else was kind of interchangeable. I mean, Rake just because he was the only other dude. But, like, the other old ladies, like, I wouldn't. I would be in the middle of it, having just read like 100 pages, and still not remember who the other two were when they were mentioned.
I even had that problem with Martha. I didn't have it with the men, but I had it with all the women.
Mm-hmm.
If it was just a general description, obviously Martha was like the, protagonist. So you would get most things with her as center. But if it was just a general description and they were all together, until it mentioned, went back to focusing strictly on Martha, a nail file or a neighing laugh. I didn't know who they were
I didn't
talking
remember
about.
the difference between, like, they'd be like, and then there's that neighing laugh, and I'm like, I still don't remember which person that belongs to. It's one of the others.
I couldn't always remember which woman, but I would remember nail file, posh, money, neighing
Which
laugh.
I found ironic. The posh nail file wielding Christina didn't have a lot of money, but Anna Greta, who worked in the bank,
had tons of money.
supposedly was loaded.
Yeah. Oh, Anna Greta, the odd man out.
The poor one who had to pay for their hotel stay.
I know, I felt so bad for her because she's everyone else is pairing off. And then it's oh, well, you have to pay for
She
this.
picked up a random dude who was totally fine being their getaway car later.
I know! How is everyone in their lives totally okay with this?
Because they're old and it's wonderful.
That's one thing, is I kept wondering if that was going to turn out to be some horrendous mistake and the guy she was interested in was going to be part of the Yugoslav mafia or something.
Or something.
But
no, they conveniently on the cruise, she just runs into him, he makes eyes at her, and now they're, partners, and he visits her in jail, even though they just met on a cruise. And
but it definitely is suspicious, kind of like Christina's children on you have the potential to be a large source of money. I'm sticking close to you, babe.
Yeah. We never visit, but now we're going to help you.
What was with that? Oh, I want my grandchild to be a part of this heist. What was with that?
Especially when they get there and why did we bring the doll? We're not even leaving the baby. Because up until that point I was like, are you leaving the baby in the carriage? I don't understand. Or you just walk away and let an unknown criminal come and
I keep figuring out why they were creating the whole diversion, and then that comes up afterwards, and they're oh, we didn't even need to do that.
And they kept doing that, and I'm I don't know if that was supposed to be a is that a character thing, or is that supposed to be because they were elderly? I don't know if that was supposed to be a...
I'm not sure.
Well, it was purposely, it was us being reassured that they're not super criminal geniuses. They have no idea what they're doing. They're just totally making it up as they go. But I just don't get her insistency. Just the insistence that her grandchild, this little baby, it's not even like a 5-year-old, a baby,
I think
needs to be involved.
No, but I think it was just for character. She was just one of those people who it's I have to be invited to everything, I have to be involved in everything. And the only way I can be more involved is to have my children involved or to have my baby involved. Because it was always we have to involve these people that I want involved. It doesn't make logical sense, except that Anders could drive the other car. But up until then, it's it makes no sense. But I want them involved because I want them involved.
After knowing how sleazy Anders was, I felt dirty for them when he's yes, I'm going to help you sneak into this place. And I'm just no, he's going to drive the car away and leave you there. What is he doing?
I know, and then he turns out to be a good guy. Well, I mean...
Who just wanted to help his mother commit crimes and steal lots of money.
Even though, as she's leaving, so we're getting our inheritance early, right?
And she's constantly reminding them, remember, you don't have your inheritance yet. And he's oh, yes. So you understand that this is the way the relationship works.
Yeah. It's okay.
This is going to sound out of left field, but for some reason in my brain it seems related, because we mentioned stealing that money. I should have looked this up, but I didn't. Caitlin, what is the difference between the Canadian dollar and Swedish krona?
Oh, yeah, that also bothered me, because I'm I don't know if that's a lot or not.
No. So what was it? 10 million divided by 6. So that's
wasn't that 20 million? Oh, it was 10 and then it was 20.
It was 10 and then it was 20. So 10 divided by 6. That's 6 to 6.5 right now. But we'll say 6. So it's like 1 point.
Okay.
No, I can do it. Kevin. It's 10 Nope. Never mind.
Quick, calculator.
10. Oh no, it has something else on it. I knew this too. Yeah, okay. It was what I would have guessed, but I didn't want to seem like an idiot, so no, I do anyways. It's 1.7 million-ish.
Okay.
So like 3.5 million, not even 3.5 million when they go for the 20.
I mean, and it's funny because that's still a lot of money, but comparatively, it's a lot less.
It's definitely something that the insurance companies would handle and not feel too much of a pinch on.
That was something I should have looked into at the time, which was like last night. But because it's much less forgivable if they had actually stolen 20 million Canadian.
No, 20 million Canadian. Yeah, it's not even 3.5. Okay. 20 million Swedish kroner is not even 3.5 million Canadian.
So they did not steal enough to buy 12 castles. This is
no. They stole. I'm trying to think of how I can.
Well, they were pretty much just needed enough to be able to live at the Grand Hotel comfortably for like the remaining 5 to 10 years they had.
Yeah, and then they want to donate money. Be a bit of a Robin Hood.
Okay, here's the quick. This T-shirt was 100 crowns. I don't know if that's helpful. I'm trying to think of how to like equivalency. Yeah, like.
But there are some T-shirts here that are also reasonably overpriced. So.
But this was like a cheap T-shirt. They're usually like more like 250 to 300 crowns for a like semi-decent, good quality H&M shirt.
I was gonna say because Hong Kong, the dollar. The rate is like 1 to 7-ish, depending on the time. It fluctuates a little bit, so it's not that far off actually.
Yeah. So no, yeah, it's
context.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what did I do?
I don't know.
I'm fine. I'm good. Sorry. So yeah, I thought of that as I was reading because I'm like, see, I know, and obviously the Swedish readers who were the original audience would know, but it's hard. Yeah. And that's the thing too, like I know my perspective would have probably been different than yours because even when he mentions like the banks are gonna rob, I'm like, I know that big bank. The US but like Euro or whatever. But I think it's like when you read about a city you've never been to, and like, oh, this is here and this is here. Like, that could be
anywhere.
Anywhere.
That's why I loved the Da Vinci Code because I had just pretty much done my tour of Europe to like all those main locations. I'm like, yes, I know exactly where you are.
Well, and I posted the pictures on the. I posted, if anyone reads it, I posted some pictures.
I saw them.
On the Goodreads page because we were out walking one evening, and I kind of had a general idea, but I had never paid that much attention. And then we're walking, I'm like, oh, there's the National Museum, and there is the hotel that they stayed at. Oh, and there's the giant bank that the guy was talking about. It's actually like next to the hotel that he never actually robbed, anyways. So.
But they didn't have to go very far on their walkers, apparently.
No, it was like all like right there.
Which is pretty entertaining. I loved that. It's like right across the street. We'll just come back and disguise those paintings and hang them on the wall.
I couldn't understand. Okay, for just out of like my love for not being able to like touch books and then be like, these are like prize Monets, and I'm just gonna repaint on top of them. Like, I'm not a big artsy person, but I was still like, what are you doing? And I know it came off easily and there was no harm done, but still, I'm like,
I was terrified.
It's funny because I have watched countless times because I love that movie. Thomas Crown Affair. I don't know if either of you have watched it.
Yeah, and they totally paint a whole new
mural. They totally paint over it. Yeah, they instead because it's supposed to be a Monet, and they paint I think a Pissarro over top of it, and like they paint an entire painting, not just like a couple of little skies. It's like a full blown watercolor painting right on top. And I had the same question when I watched that movie, because then the way they get that off is they like the sprinklers come on and it drenches the painting, and I'm like,
Oh no.
Like, nope, nope. Well, see, and for me, it's like I think of, okay, this was on TV a couple weeks ago, the Mr. Bean movie. Have you seen
Yes.
that with the painting of Whistler's mother? Like, he's
Yep.
like, so that's all I could think about. I'm like, we're going to destroy
The paint remover going over top of it.
And then
Yeah.
he draws like a cartoon. with it.
Yep, the base, yep.
It was actually like the only scene I saw when I turned it on. And I was like, no, don't paint on other paintings. You're going to Mr. Bean them.
That's an official Canadianism now. Has a whole cultural meaning.
Tweeting it. That's not Twitter.
You're gonna Mr. Bean it? Yep.
Mhm. Yep. Work Twitter. Thank you.
That reminds me, what did you guys think of all of the extra like little bits with the characters that were very minor but actually had their own little sections?
I liked how, like, so there's a difference between what was there and the pacing of what was there. And I think this comes down to more vocabulary than actual, like, sectioning off, because I actually did like seeing, oh, hey, these dudes stumbled over the drain pipe, and, oh, hey, look, these guys have had this going on, or this is what nurse, what's her face? Barbara is doing, and then they end up meeting up. So it all, like, does come together if you're, like, wondering, oh, what happened to that bag of money? Oh, these dudes who are, like, trifling through a whole bunch of, like, lost luggage.
End up at the Diamond House.
So I loved that it was just like, and meanwhile, while they're like, oh no, we lost all our money, it didn't work, and the money's floating around, and then it comes all the way back to them, and they're like, how did that happen? And so I did appreciate that. But that I take differently than the pacing I'm referring to. And I don't really know how to describe it, because I did like that sectioning. There was still something off in timing.
See, and I agree with you, because I was writing my review, and I was like started to get into like, and I could have done without all those minor random characters, but I'm like, well, no, I really enjoyed all of the random minor. I thought the characters were really interesting, and but I still had an issue with it, and it was the pacing was the biggest thing. I also had a problem with how everything was just like so coincidental. Like the guy who finds the money gets it. Like, okay, I get it. It helps.
Added to the slapstick comedy of it.
Yeah, I think for me,
I did appreciate that.
Yeah, I think for me, it was just one like conveniency too many. Like
But
the fact that the
convenient. That was the thing. If every single one had been a convenient, it was this close, but then they got away with it by that much, then it would have been problematic. But there were a couple where things didn't go their way.
No, that's true. For me, it was like, how convenient that they pair up so perfectly. And, oh, poor Anna Greta, nope, meets a guy on the cruise. How convenient that Rake grows hemp on his patio that they can use to drug everybody. And that they're all systems that brains can figure out for some reason. Like, it was mostly fine, but just for me, like, when finally the money got back, I was like, oh, come on. Seriously?
So I think I categorized those separately from, like, their personal life coincidences to, like, the money trail. I was fine with the money trail.
I thought that was hilarious that it ended back there. That was hilarious.
No, it was like, well, and the lady who found it was like super adorable.
Once again, the Dolores who was the one son brought her that, and they're all like, my millions, and they're all like, sure, okay.
Yeah.
Again, we don't give enough credit to old people.
Yep. Even the other old people, apparently.
Yeah, even the old people.
Actually, I'll say that seems to be something that's actually an alarming trend. There used to be a time when, the older the person was, the more wise they were considered. These days, that's turned around because the way the world has changed so much, the older you are, the less you probably know about what's currently going on.
Yeah, all the technology.
Well, it's also that I think we're looking at it as inevitability to senilism, right?
True.
Like, for me, just thinking about my grandparents personally, it really depends on what they're... sounds horrible. you know their medical histories, if that makes sense. So you
Mhm.
know the propensity for them to have thoughts that are just kind of like say things like my millions, my millions. You're kind of like, you don't have millions. Not that that happened, but yeah. Not that okay, like no, my
But there's
grandparents had
definitely
million on
a
their grave.
difference between having, because again, even if she was in her right mind, she shouldn't be going around talking about her millions. Just like,
Yeah.
Martha and her gang there. They had
Yeah.
millions, but they weren't going around my millions, my millions. That there's a difference in how you're approaching the situation. So of course when you're not necessarily 100% there, even those little factual things just don't seem credible.
Yeah.
But again, why Martha and her gang aren't necessarily taken seriously, because the assumption that they're all like Dolores.
Yeah, which isn't true.
Mhm.
Again, just going based off of my own grandparents.
Ageism!
Nope. And maybe it's partly personal history with some people too. Like a lot of other isms. No. You guys are just like
No, sorry. No, I agree.
No, I can see you like slightly nodding. It's just quiet. But a lot of that is taught, depending on culture.
And again, in a society where it's prominent for people to, shelve their elderly parents away, then why
Put
wouldn't
them
that
on the iceberg.
Yeah, why wouldn't that be a common thought process, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Food. He asked
So
if I knew what dinner smelled like.
I'm just going through my 3 stickies.
No, I have some great quotes.
Oh, I've got 3.
I didn't think I did. I thought I took barely any notes, but I have a few good ones. Like, food without wine is like a car without wheels.
I actually really like this one. Better to have a messy home and happy children than a perfect yard and unhappy children.
Yes. I love that one too.
I added that one to the author's quote, as well as it's better to be in the bed that broke than always to sleep alone.
That's what I was just about to say. Oh, rake. Because he was a man and had little imagination. I can't remember what that was a justification for, but apparently that's a...
This isn't a fun quote one. This is the one where I hated them because this is where director Mattson introduces the new pills. Some of the pills, like the red ones, were given to all the residents, as were the light blue pills that he had recently introduced. They made the old folks lose their appetite. I was like,
I kind of
I played that because it made me so upset.
So, as I was reading about Barbara and her affair with him, she kept doing the, typical, eventually he'll leave his wife, eventually he'll divorce her, eventually we'll be together. And I kind of it was another in the coincidence, convenience things, but the fact that they actually did get engaged. I just want to be like,
is that also never in love with somebody else?
I know, I was just like, no, he's a terrible person. Don't.
And that was the worst thing. Like, I know you want to be loved, but you're caring for human beings here. Come on.
I know. And she had those moments where you were just like, you can't be this terrible. Clearly, you're doing it.
She was.
I think she was, and I think that for me, that made me so mad because, you feel like, oh, you poor girl, you are so delusional. I hope one day you snap out of it.
It kind of made sense for the director because he was so not hands-on.
Yeah.
But she was the one with those people all the time. Like, she knew who the people were and what they were into. But just the fact that she was still able to justify his justifications rather than be like, oh yeah, human beings. Hi.
But it wasn't even just that she was justifying his justifications. To me, it seemed like she really was, like, she was, to a large degree, in it for the money, because even at the end, when she finally gets what she
Because
wants...
he wanted to save money and be more profitable, so that's because that's what he wanted. She was constantly trying to impress him, be like, "Oh yes, this will save the home even more money. So let's do that."
Even at the end, once she got what she wanted and they were going to get married, she made, like, there was the little bit where it was focusing on her, and I can't remember what she was referring to, but she was saying how they were opening the new ones and they were going to be partners, and he thought he was going to be the boss, but no, she had plans. And I was like, yeah, she just wanted to be on top of things. Like, she
wanted the power that went with it.
Yeah, she just wanted the power and the money. I don't think it was probably to some degree about him, but I don't think to a large degree it was.
It probably started with him, but then because that's the kind of guy he is, and that's what she was trying to be to get him to stay with her, maybe it kind of took over.
There was also a thing at the beginning, and I think that's what set off my initial sense of the character, obviously. There was a comment at the beginning, something about, like, how she put up with him, and, like, I don't know, it was commenting that he was overweight or something like that, but she was, like, she put up with it because she had high hopes, da-da-da-da. It's like, I don't feel like she necessarily cared about him for him. But...
yeah.
Oh, well.
Apparently I never posted that.
Never posted what?
The link on Facebook.
Oops.
It's all typed in. It's been there for a while. Sorry. Oops.
Posting now?
Yep. Yep. Anyway, yes. I don't know.
I was not a fan of her character, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Not a fan. Katya, on the other hand, was really nice.
I know, right?
Comes in and she, like, livens up the old people and they get their coffee and their biscuits.
And she's clearly concerned when you get her perspective. Like, everyone was so, like, there was no music anymore and there was no... I don't know.
Well, it's really funny, too, because they're back at Diamond House, after... Bless you! After they're in prison, they're back at Diamond House and Katya's in charge and they're like, oh, well, this isn't actually so bad. And then, thankfully, Miss Buck comes back and they're like, okay, no, we have to get out.
Sorry, I got dinner. I don't know what it is.
Mystery dinner.
There's mutant corn in here.
Oh, tiny differences. It's only 10 a.m. here.
Dinner. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, I've been eating my bowl of breakfast.
Got oatmeal here that I'm slowly working my way through.
I know, he was like, you can't eat during book club. Like, everyone else does it. And I've totally done it before.
Peer pressure.
Hot. What is this?
Swedish mystery food?
Are you complaining about the dinner time?
No, I'm not complaining. I love the dinner you made me. I'm totally okay with the fact that it has mutant corn in it.
Baby corn.
Baby corns are mutant corns.
Eat them. I'll fix it.
No, my food.
Anyway, the book.
Yes, the book.
Yeah, let's not discuss my eating habits right now, please.
Do not serve Caitlin baby corn.
Okay, for a second I thought she said meat and corn, and I was going to say, doesn't he know she doesn't eat meat by this point?
That would be a huge husband fail, I think.
That was the initial glare. He's like, they didn't have tofu, so I made it with chicken. And I was like,
Yeah, no.
Nope. I'm very sorry for the sidetrack.
It's what we do.
At least you're getting fed, so you're gonna have this burst of energy in our last 10 minutes.
I know, right? My brain will finally start to work.
So, any other important? Those are my 3 stickies. I really didn't have a lot. In fact, I found after I had gotten to I don't know, the 100-page mark thereabouts. I don't know, whenever they'd finished the big painting heist, and it kind of lulled.
Yep.
And I'm like, why is there still another half of this book?
I said
What
that to
could they
Julianne.
possibly do for another half of this book? And
Yeah,
I was
okay,
never really good after that.
No, I said that to Julianne. We were talking, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I got through the first third pretty quickly, but now I'm having problems." And yeah, and then I continue to have problems.
It just, there was no build-up for post-bank robbery. It was all the build-up for the painting stealing. And you're like, yeah, old people did it. And then, I mean, more things did happen.
They were in
But
prison, and
But it didn't pace the way that
no.
it should have. Again, pacing. All about the pacing.
Yeah, the pacing was definitely an issue.
Yep. I need to find someone who's read it and who speaks Swedish fluently.
The other thing too that I found, and once again, it's to do with translation. I don't know for sure if that's the way it's written or if it's just the way it's translated. I found it very, I almost want to say very literal. Just there were a lot of straightforward, simple sentence descriptions.
Yeah. That was my problem with the characters, because it wasn't that they didn't describe the characters, it's just I got the descriptions, but I couldn't see them.
Yeah.
I had that problem too.
Description.
I had that problem too. I couldn't visualize any of them very well, which meant that if it hadn't mentioned anything in a while about how they were old, I stopped picturing them that way.
I had trouble picturing them throughout the entire book. I never really settled on images for any of them. And it was always a specific thing, like, as you were saying, like the neighing laugh, or for Christina, basically my image was, a nail file. Problematic. And then there's the picture on the front of the book, but I'm guessing that's probably not what Martha looks like.
Well, that's not what the original cover looks like.
True. I actually found the cover a little bit off-putting, quite honest.
No, yeah, the original is just like purple with words.
The one that was on your Goodreads page.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I love the details of the book, like the pattern and everything in the back, but then the actual little lady, the picture, I found slightly off-putting.
Why does she have an umbrella?
Because she couldn't hold the sign and a walker at the same time?
I just noticed that. I'm like,
I'm not sure. I feel like a bent walking stick would be more accurate.
and
Maybe they just found the image of an old lady and photoshopped the rest.
The sign that said enough.
Okay, so with their walkers,
I really don't like the ski mask. They didn't wear ski masks.
they didn't know.
No.
And then but
they're
they
talking about it.
had walkers, and with the walker that had that reflective arm, did anyone else just picture the giant stick sticking off to the side?
Yes! Because it was just supposed to be, allowing them to be more visible while they were getting away. I had a tough time, actually, picturing that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
It did seem like... I don't know.
That might have also been a translation thing too, right? I don't know.
I am curious if it's just the word choice, because when an author puts a word, puts their words together, they're very purposeful and they're very driven. And so that's why I'm wondering if part of the reason why we seem a little detached from this is what it says and this is how we should feel is because it's not the author's words. I am curious if there's...
And I don't want to say that it's all the translation. We don't know that for sure. And it also could be that in addition to that, even just the difference between Canadian and American English or Canadian or American British English, there are a lot of word differences, so that might also be it. It might be translated fine, but there might be just that's just what
this
they're
one
called.
did seem more up on the Britishisms.
Yeah, so
was.
it might be
In terms of the spelling.
Yeah, so it might be a European word choice because we've even had that talking. Everyone here speaks fluent English, but sometimes they'll be talking to you and they'll say something, which is the correct word translated, but for us it's just like
That's not what we would say.
it takes a minute for you to like figure it out, and you're just like, oh yeah, okay, yep. It's like I get it.
Like when someone asks you for a rubber and they mean an eraser, and you're like, what is happening here?
That is not.
Yes. Yeah. I came up against that one in Hong Kong because my little sister, who's like
that one.
8 at this point,
I haven't
calls
heard
them
that one. That one puts you in an awkward spot. Or the first time that someone tells you that they're pissing and you're like,
Oh, I know that.
what? And yeah. No, they're just having a laugh, but you're like, okay, don't understand where this conversation went. But, yeah.
Well,
English, it's never the same anywhere twice.
That one came up with, my when she wasn't even 8 yet, she was 7 at the time. And my little sister, she calls erasers rubbers. And the first time she said that, I... What? Oh.
I'm glad you're prepared to be safe, but I think you're a little young.
See, and I've never heard that one. It's been a long time since I've stumbled over something like that, and that's...
Heck, that's just unspoken. As an English teacher, and you realize that this generation can't spell, you get the the
I imagine.
I could tell you. Oh, lie.
I get a kick out of even just like simple typos. I was reading an email at work yesterday. Somebody had sent something about an open house, and it said they were hosing an open house rather than they were hosting an open house.
It's like, why would you hose an open house? That sounds very damaging.
It does.
I just couldn't talk last night. We were like walking, and my brain just wasn't working, and I would say things like, nope, that's not the. So it'd be like it's the close word. It's a word that was close to it, but not like speaking in typos, basically.
And that happens to the best of us, I think.
Yep. I was like, nope.
Oh, you tweeted that.
Of course, I tweeted that. My Twitter game in book club has been lax at best.
Well, it's hard to focus with multiple screens because it's like I'm engaging with you, and I have to check this window and this window and this window and this window. I'm not good with the multitasking.
Yeah.
Nope.
So, should we move on to awards? I feel so guilty. I seriously couldn't think of anything. Like, I could do like a knockoff, like old person, yay! But that didn't seem like a genuine award. But Julianne, you had a couple. I will get ready to do some typing.
So the first one is it's a character award, and it is the "Where's My Nail File" award for Christina.
I really don't know how she has any nails.
I know, she was constantly filing her nails. If you spent that much time filing your nails, they would disappear. Mm-hmm. Unless she just really gently files like the tiniest little bit, just for the sake of filing.
Maybe she has false nails, so it's just for appearance.
Endless, yeah.
She's worn the she's worn the sandpapery stuff down to nothing. So it's actually just like filing with a popsicle.
It's a stress thing. I'm so stressed out. But yeah.
So there's that one, and then this one may be a matter of opinion because I didn't have, as we mentioned, a very high opinion of Nurse Barbara. Mm-hmm. So for I suppose another, I'm not sure if it would be a character award, but the Bronze Digger Award.
The what?
Yep.
Bronze Digger, because she really wasn't gold digging. The Director Madison
I just love this term. That's the best.
So yeah, she was the Bronze Digger.
I like it just for its wittiness.
Yep.
Yes.
So yeah, those are the two I came up with.
Caitlin, did you have anything that came to mind for this?
I just never thought of anything.
it wasn't consistent enough for me to really like come up with like anything on the writing style or anything, and then it's not. I mean, I don't want to call it on its pacing again because we have that big question mark in the air as to whether or not that's genuine or translation or what have you. So I was just like, I don't know, it's like it existed in a black hole and I couldn't touch it. But I'm glad, thank you, Julianne, for coming to the rescue, because I really didn't want to have like no awards. Like even some of our really rough reads have awards. So and I agree, like it wasn't an amazing book, but it was good. I felt after I gave my my comments on Goodreads, someone actually reviewed my review, and they were sad that I didn't like it more. And I felt bad because it's not that I didn't like it, because again, I mean, look at how we've been talking about. We've got a lot of happy, fond, joyful memories that come out of this book. But I think that's the difference between concept and enjoying reading it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's like a nostalgic thing. Like I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed like the characters and I enjoyed these aspects, but as I was reading it, especially when it slowed down or the pacing got weird, I was not into it.
It's like Heaven is Small all over again. It was a book you appreciated more after having read it and realizing how much it applied. Right? Yeah. But actually going through it, you're like, this just what is this? This isn't practical. What's going on? So it's not a dislike for the book. It just, as a personal reading experience, I wasn't like, oh my god, I have to read this again.
Yeah, no. That's admittedly not a thought I'm currently having.
It will probably end up in a yard sale at some point. Sorry, but when my bookshelves cry for space, this is probably not going to come back out.
You know, I think that's the worst thing about a Kindle is I don't have that option. I'm realizing because I was like going through and like, you know, needlessly, over-organizing my Kindle into different categories earlier.
And you have a yard sale one?
No, but there were some like
yard sale, yes.
I have some books by the different book clubs I'm in, or like classics or whatever, and then I was just like, as I was organizing some of them, I was like, I'm never going to read this again.
See, that's when I delete it from the device and just leave it in the cloud. And if by some chance at some point I want to read it again, I can download it. But that way it's not cluttering up the Kindle.
No, exactly. So it's like, how many do I have in my archives that I might never even look at?
This one I could probably put in the classroom library, but there are some, like Unravel. No, there's no, I've got no way to reuse that one. I know I'm not going to reread it. When I need to save space, that'll be one in the box. This one, I could pass on to someone else.
It sounds terrible. I don't advocate destroying books whatsoever, but with Unravel, I would almost just want to save the cover.
Oh, it's a really pretty cover. But no, even with books like Unravel or this one, like I liked them well enough that I could probably think of someone who would enjoy it as much, if not more, than I did.
Well, and
they're an ebook.
Unravel.
You did enjoy it, and I know people who would also like. I didn't dislike it. I liked it. Maybe I'll read it again, but I don't feel like it is one I'll be reading again anytime very soon, and I'd be more likely to give it to someone, but I can't. It's on my Kindle.
You can lend it to somebody who has a Kindle.
You have a Kindle.
And I have a book.
You are literally the only person I know who has a Kindle.
Really? Oh, okay.
Sorry. But I also have read this, so not useful. I have it up in my room.
Yeah, because I feel bad, especially when they are books like this that I did enjoy parts of, that it will just sit there and I can't.
I'm not saying that I'm gonna like chuck this right after we close.
No, of course.
It's just I've got so much room on my bookshelf space.
I have so much room on my bookshelves.
That's because you had to do the great purging of the books.
I was going to say, thanks to the great purging of Caitlin's books, I had to move another bookshelf into my room. The bookshelf
if
behind
Caitlin didn't have to mail books to me, I'm sure I would too.
I did mail her books, actually.
I have
But-
5. Let's see, 5 shelves here that are very wide, like wider than my arms, and then I have a whole other bookcase over there.
Yeah, admittedly, I only mailed Ashley 2, and they were thematic because I thought she might be able to use them, enjoy them / use them. I think there might be some parts that are a little too explicit, but I can't remember.
Genre-wise, it's fine. I told
Yeah.
you it was very sweet. Matt and I sat there reading like fairy tale stories to each other. It was very wonderful. We don't read poetry, we read fairy tales. So
But that's why I thought you'd like it. I liked them. They were fairy tale retellings, basically, 2 books.
I quite like those. It's a genre that we agree with.
Yeah, no, and I liked it. And I was
Hansel and
like,
Gretel, the Witch Hunters, surprisingly amazing. We loved it. When
so I should watch it.
Well,
Watch it.
I mean, it's gratuitous, like action horror-y stuff
That's
where
okay.
you know,
That's okay.
right? But it's still sweet. And he got diabetes from eating candy, so it's like this is totally plausible.
Spoilers!
Aside from the fact, it's very early on. That's the end of the movie right there. He has diabetes. He died of diabetes. Spent the rest of his life in a hospital bed in medieval times, and could fight no more witches. The end.
What kind of diabetes do you imagine?
Very severe old fat person diabetes.
Like just insta-death diabetes?
Because it's the combination of the old fat diabetes.
Okay.
Well,
I just,
it would
I,
also be because
So it's
it
like
was
the whole body
time,
deteriorates.
so they would have
It's just like, no more witches.
I'm just because I'm thinking about it. I know a surprising number of people with diabetes, but none of them have. I don't want to call it that.
I have reverse diabetes.
Yeah, like I know so many people that have diabetes-based illnesses.
Okay.
Because
I
sugar
didn't
is
describe
wonderful.
anything that actually happened in Hansel and Gretel, but I think I was partially influenced by the fact we were talking about this, so I had to go straight to the old invalid man.
My brain has just kind of like reached a point where it's like doesn't understand anything right now. I know what you're saying, and I logically understand the words by definition, but I just cannot.
I broke Caitlin again. I should get an award for that. How often can I break Caitlin?
I'm surprisingly fragile. Only in my brain.
All right, so that was awards. And other people that are watching, you can post awards too. Go to our Goodreads page and you can nominate whatever. I mean, just go nuts. No guarantees we're going to take it, but at times like this when we're like, I've got nothing, anything really would do. And there's kind of, right?
Yeah, sometimes
We're
we have
pretty
like
open
endless
about things.
awards.
As long as it's not like super offensive, we'll probably be like if you wanted to give this like a pineapple award and could justify why it won a pineapple award, then why not? Don't give me that face. I give those types of suggestions all the time. It's like my kids are like, so what do I write on the final exam? Whatever you want. If you read the story and you think about space chickens, write about space chickens. I'm like, what?
Why couldn't you have been my teacher?
I've legitimately given that advice before.
That is awesome.
I had to recalibrate my thinking for exams because you would read these passages and like I know they're about this, but this is what I think they should be about. But I can't write about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think special.
I think this is why we've come together. Like minds gravitate towards each other.
Yep. I love how you didn't say great minds think alike. You just said like minds gravitate.
Because that's redundant to say.
Skip the complimentary cliche.
Yeah,
We're just all weirdos.
pretty much. Which is why we're recruiting for new weirdos to come join us in our discussions. Our group page is up to 14 members, going strong. There's even people there that I've never heard of before. They're just like coming out of nowhere. Not just my husband that I've recruited into making another account.
And that's why you have 2 friends that are him. Or someone else has a friend that is him.
Well, he's only got 1 account, so.
Maybe, no, there was someone, okay, no.
Unless he did create a secret account where he's not friends with me. Then he's got some explaining to do.
I don't know, I came across a friend's suggestion that wasn't the one I know is him. That was friends with someone that does know him, that we know, I think. But it wasn't his picture, it was a cartoon picture, which is also like him. And I was like, I don't understand.
He has put 0 effort into his Goodreads account, so if there's a picture, it's not him.
All types of people are welcome.
My dog is going insane.
Yeah, I'll post links below. Oh, I forgot to mention, we do also occasionally review it on a blog, do our reviews for the books. So I occasionally review the book.
For a long time, I was great about it, and then at the beginning of the year, March? I did, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say I'm great about it, and that's only because when I moved, I woke up really early because of jet lag, and I am one morning caught up on like 6 of them. But
I've called those ones lost causes, and I'm not going back.
I started all of them. Like, I went through my drafts folder, and I had started all of them. I had really good intentions. But there's that, so that'll be below the Goodreads page. If you want to go look at other stuff, our videos are on it, and, the books, and,
our blogs, our websites, our Twitter handles, everything.
Because we tweet, so.
If you can't tell, every time we go, tweeting that.
Yeah, when you're going to see me do this. Lean forward. I'm tweeting. I mean, that's really bad if I end up doing this.
Yes.
It's all for the greater good of the club.
For Curious Endeavouring.
Yes. If you are curious, come endeavoring with us. Yeah, so that, I don't know if anyone has anything else to say about the little old lady who broke all the rules.
I don't think so. Although, did we give ratings? We didn't give ratings.
So you already gave yours for 3 at the start. Is there anything else you wanted to say about yours?
I don't think so.
I just thought because you'd started us off with it. That, mine was also 3, and that awkward 3 of no, that doesn't mean I was meh about it. It's just it wasn't great. But I enjoyed it. I did. I think this would be a loan from the library one. If I were to recommend it to people or like pass around, there's no one that comes to mind that I would say yes, go buy this book. But it's cute, definitely worth a read. So check it out, borrow a copy. If you really love it, then
learn about
why
Stockholm.
not? Yep. And someone read it in Swedish and let us know what it's like.
Yes.
Give me like 5 years. And we'll be having a discussion 5 years from now. I'll be like, oh, I finally read that book in Swedish.
And a part of me just thought of us being super old, even though in 5 years that doesn't make any sense. Being like, eh?
I'd like to think we wouldn't even be middle-aged, technically.
Just barely coming out of 30.
Okay, yeah, in fact, I'm older than both of you, so you know what? Nope. And then Julian's just a baby.
I am not.
Well, I feel old. I've broken the...
1.5 younger than you?
Hmm?
Well, I think I'm only 1.5 years or so younger than you. Or is it more than that?
Right now it feels like 3 or something. It's that awkward period between birthdays when you seem much older than someone.
That's true.
So, I seem
I'll
like
catch up a
I'm
little
just.
bit next January.
Sorry?
I said I'll catch up a little bit next January.
Yeah, exactly.
There's only like 5 months between Caitlin and I.
Yeah, but for those 5 months. I love how I'm saying it like it makes a difference, because I'm still exactly the same amount older than you every day. It's just the numbers. I'm so old. I'm not that old.
No, you're really not.
You're married to someone older, just like I am, so you
Yeah,
get
but
to
right
play
now
that
we're the
up
same
forever.
age.
I guess I got the 2 years on Matt, so I can always drag him down with the you're almost 30. He's like, I am not. Yeah, you are. No, I'm not.
Yeah, no, right now we're the same age because of one birthday as well. My birthday's not even that early in the year. It just is compared to like everybody I know.
My birthday's really early in the year. January.
Yeah, you don't count because you're so much younger. Those people who are within.
I'm always little.
Yeah, it's in that period of time where you're the same. You're technically like you're born the same year, but you'll be older for a while, or else they're born a year ahead of you, but you'll be the same age for a while. I have that perfect barrier where my birthday falls.
So you're in the middle.
Right in the middle, almost exactly. Nope. So, anyway, I give it 3 stars.
Back on topic. I like it.
I'm really good at backtracking sometimes. It's because I'm also really good at losing.
Tangents. We're very good at tangents. We have to be good at backtracking.
Yes. That's a
Um,
prerequisite to join Curious Endeavourances.
yeah, pretty much. God. I'm sorry, I'm so warm.
3 stars.
3 stars. Because also, yeah, I liked it. As Goodreads says, I liked it. It's above, it was okay. Even a 3 stars seems like it should be, middle okay, but no. I liked it. Enjoyed it. I'm sure I could, well, no, I can't lend it to people. We've had this discussion. But I'm sure if I could, I would be able to find people. Yeah, so if that's it, then we have our next month's pick, which is Ashley's pick.
So I've decided, because I'd like to do one at least once a year, doing another local author pick, so cross our fingers. This one, definitely taking advantage of the fact that we read everything and anything. I've got The Apprentice's masterpiece here, A Story of Medieval Spain by Melanie Little. I found this as I was browsing for local Canadian authors, and this, while it's written in the time of the Spanish Inquisition, is also written entirely in verse. Do they have a... Yes, okay. I'd say I'm reading the back, but no, I'm actually reading the front fold. That's where they put everything now.
Mm-hmm.
15th century Spain is one of the most enlightened cultures on record, one in which Jews, Muslims, and Christians coexist within an atmosphere of respect. Then the zealous Queen Isabella enacts policies that put an abrupt end to the peace. Violence, mistrust, and intolerance shadow everyone as the Spanish Inquisition takes shape. In this fear-filled atmosphere, 15-year-old scribe Ramon Benveniste? Don't ask me to do names. Must hide the family secret. They are conversos, Jews converted to Christianity. One day, a young man is delivered to the door. Amir wears the robe and red patch of a Muslim. Soon, both Ramon and Amir are caught up in dramatic events they cannot escape. So, I haven't read this. All my picks, except for Lexicon, so far have been blind picks. So, no background other than knew it was local Canadian author, and that's what it's about, because that's what it says on the back of the book. And I based on reviews, is written in verse. I haven't started reading, but I was flipping through what I didn't know. I thought it was going to be like epic poem type verse. It's actually a collection of small poems.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I'm surprised. This is completely different from anything we've done so far. So I'm kind of excited just for the change. I don't know if it's for better or for worse, but hey, it's different. We'll try it out. And it's also available digitally, but it's a very pretty little hardcover here, which I quite enjoy. I do gravitate towards books that are physically pretty. So for someone who, I'm not a big poetry person, but I'm totally willing to see what this is about. Historical fiction, so that's a yay. That's one of my faves. And yeah, I think that's all I've got on this one. Read Canadian literature.
Yay. Cool. I'm excited because I don't read a lot of historical fiction.
True.
I read a lot of poetry.
And I'm going to start earlier this month. No, leaving the beginning of the book till a week before book club.
You say that, and I'm sure I'll do it.
I know several of us are going to be rather busy throughout August. We get a longer reading month because we're not meeting until the 30th, I believe.
Yeah,
it is, when you get through the epilogue, 309 pages, but again, it's all...
Oh, that's easy.
Oh, okay.
It's all little bits of poetry, so it's not like you've got 300 pages of mass text. I almost didn't pick this because it was shorter, but then I realized that's actually probably not a bad thing for August.
No.
So,
not bad.
Again, I haven't started reading any of it. I don't know what the writing style is like yet. I just flipped through and went, hey, look, little poems. Somehow this tells a complete story. That is what I've been promised.
I'm very intrigued now. And I request that everyone flag their favorite poem.
The frivolous cake.
We will give it the frivolous cake award.
Frivolous cake in the Spanish Inquisition.
We'll give it the frivolous cake award. We'll have a poem off.
There should always be a frivolous cake award. Always. Always.
Always. Always. Okay. If you don't know what that means, go back and watch our first video, Titus Grown by Mervyn Peake.
And read Titus Grown because it is a life-changing
It's amazing.
adventure.
I really need to finish it. I have my books now. I can finish it. I'm unbelievably excited. Okay, so that will be August 30th, 9 p.m. Pacific, and, times accordingly following. Because math is not that hard. When you have an app. No, 9 a.m.
Like, oh, we've changed it back. Caitlin's getting up at 4 a.m.
Actually, that would be 6 a.m. Originally, it would have been. I don't know. See, for me, it's always p.m., so it happens. Okay, so that's it. Check out links, join the group, read the books, because books are fun.
And join the discussion.
Yes. And we will see you in 5 weeks. Monthish. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Read all the things.